The Doctor. In the TARDIS. Next stop, everywhere.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Charles Skaggs, one of the original partners in time, ready to talk some new David Tennant as we discuss a Big Finish audio adventure, No Place, with my fellow partner in time, my longtime friend and favorite co-host, Jesse Jackson. Hi, Jesse. How are you?
Hello, Charles. Hold on. Good coffee and hot. As we record today is National Coffee Day. So.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
There you go. Damn good coffee and hot.
Yes, it is good to be talking Doctor Who again. It is good to hear the Doctor and Donna again. So, yeah, this is going to be a fun one.
I think so. It's obviously something a little different because it's not one of our standard TV stories that we review. It's one of the Big Finish audio adventures that we're going to talk about. So, yeah, we're talking No Place here at episode 155. Written by James Goss, directed by Ken Bentley. And this is the first audio adventure from Big Finish's Doctor Who, The 10th Doctor Adventures, Volume 3 set from 2019, starring, of course, David Tennant and the return of Catherine Tate as Donna Noble. And definitely looking forward to talking about this one with you.
I am too. Fresh after
yes,
me spending a whole 5 minutes with Catherine Tate at Dragon Con.
She's nice to talk to, isn't she?
She was just lovely. There is always a line getting a signature for if you're, and I don't mean this in a bad way, if you are a major, especially a current someone that is involved in TV, there is often not a long line for some shows, but Doctor Who guests normally have a long line, and so there was a long line for her. You started lining up while she was still on like her lunch break. And when she came, she did not get behind the little table. She stood in front of it. She had her water. She had her, Purell. And she just hugged everyone. She worked the phone on the selfie. You could tell she loved meeting fans. And she took like 5 or 6 selfies using my phone of her and I. And I told her how much, as the more we watch her episodes, the more I've grown to love her as a companion. And I left off the part that I used to think she wasn't a good companion because I was raised to be polite. And but I have, and on the record, right, Charles?
Yes.
I have said the more we watch her, the more I have just gone to appreciate what she does as an actress, as a companion. So now
that you've met her,
yeah.
Has that changed your opinion at all of her?
Well, first off, yes, she's absolutely lovely. But what's really changed my opinion is us rewatching the episodes and seeing in context what how she fits in to the greater scope of companions. I really like what she did. She was very different the first time I watched it. I wasn't sure, but now then that friendship and kind of camaraderie and how she's just a little bit brash is really, really lovely.
Yeah.
So,
Donna, and that's one of the things we've talked about before, that why I love Donna is that, she does speak her mind. She doesn't just
yes.
roll over. She gets right up in your grill and is happy to let you know exactly what she's thinking. There's been a few companions like that. Tegan Jovanka comes to mind from the classic era. But by and large, most of them are just kind of go along with what the doctor says. But Donna is one of the few companions that just says, okay, well, here's what I think. And if the doctor thinks of that as well, great.
Yeah. And in fact,
she takes more of the lead. Yeah.
I believe she is a lot of, without Donna, it would have been tougher to do Amy, because Amy was always quick to call out the doctor, and even some of the other companions. So it's really important. I do have one other housekeeping that I need to give you a compliment about.
Okay.
And then we'll get to the regular story. This is about Doctor Who. So Linda and I were watching the great Ken Burns documentary Country Music.
Right.
And
my parents are watching that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really well done. Even if you aren't a fan of country music, it's beautiful to talk about that. So in the very early episodes, they're playing a lot of Jimmie Rodgers and original Carter Family. And they're talking about how amazing this was and how influential it was and how those two groups kind of from there grew everything in modern music. And Linda is mentioning, I don't like it. I don't get why this is great. And I said, well, I will tell you, before Charles and I started talking Doctor Who, when I would try to watch a classic episode, I didn't get it. And I didn't enjoy it. But I said, but then once we started doing a podcast and it was my quote unquote job to watch it, I stuck with the episode and watched it. And then when I watched more, and the more I got used to listening and viewing in that style of TV, I was able to appreciate what it was and in a lot of cases really enjoy it. And so, and by the end of the episode, Linda was like, okay, I see that, because now that we've heard several songs from Jimmie Rodgers or the Carter Family,
right,
my ear has gotten in tune to it, and I'm now enjoying it more. So just wanted to give a little shout out that
okay.
You were part of the discussion, and it made it really seemed to fit. So
well, I'm glad I can help.
Excited.
And however I did that, but okay, no problem.
Yeah, well, Doctor Who shows up everywhere, Charles.
Exactly. It relates to everything, and that's why
it does.
And obviously, that's why we enjoy talking about it here so much on Next Stop Everywhere. All right.
So let's get to the show.
Let's get back to the episode. So, before I get into some background, what was your general thoughts about No Place? This first audio from the third volume 3 set.
So, I may say this over and over again. If I was breaking this apart, the voice acting, excellent. The character moments, excellent. The banter back and forth, excellent. The story, kind of weak.
Yeah.
And in fact, I had to listen to the end again, and I still am not quite sure. Something bad was in this person, and now they're gone.
Right. Well, that's something we can talk about as we talk.
Yeah, we will. But I really felt like the plot was not the point. The point of this was hearing Donna's mom and grandpa interacting with the doctor. I mean, all these different characters, and with the actual premise, the guy who's doing this reality show makeover, this haunted makeover. So I found the spending the time with them is what was greatness. The story, not so much. How about you?
Well, and that's one of the things that I want to run down. I really kind of I wasn't overwhelmed by this one. I thought it was entertaining. It's obviously great to hear, and I'll run down the cast here in a minute. But it was great to hear Wilf, and it was great to hear Sylvia again. But by and large, this was kind of a weak one. I agree with you to start off with. It's a different type of story. It's not like your typical Doctor Who adventure. It's more like one of those found footage movies, horror movies, or at least it tries to be a little bit. But I don't think this really works for the most part. I mean, I guess for the most part it does, but it doesn't. It's not as strong as it could have been, I think, is what my general take on this. And I think that's yours as well, if I'm reading you correctly today. Yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
So our guest cast, obviously, we get the return of Bernard Cribbins as Wilfred Wilf Mott, everybody. And how great is that? That
is so great.
That Bernard Cribbins is still recording, was able to record as Wilf at the age of 90, or at least, now at this moment, he's now 90 years old.
Wow. I did not know he was that old.
Jesse eating on the air.
I had muted because you were talking, but then I had to speak. I was like, wow, I did not realize he was that old. That is amazing.
I hope you brought enough muffins or whatever for everybody.
I'm doing toast. I did not wake up early enough to eat my toast before we started.
That's all right. That's right. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know you are. You should.
But Bernard Cribbins, it's great to hear him again. Obviously because of his age, you never know when we're going to get the last performance of Wilf, and so it was great that he was able to do one more at least. Hopefully we hear him again. But it was wonderful to hear him at least one more time, and on Doctor Who. Jacqueline King returns as Sylvia Noble, the rather horrible Sylvia Noble, who, if you notice in this audio, still just treats Donna horribly.
Mothers are not portrayed well. There is
on Doctor Who. Yes.
Yeah, there is a joke that everyone on Lost had daddy issues.
Yes.
And there is something to do with Doctor Who. Moms are just not shown very well. And I'm specifically thinking of like Jackie's mom, and then Donna's mom, and even the newest companion where we met the family. Who's the companion whose mom got fired? I'm embarrassed. Anyway, moving on, sir.
That's okay. All right. I'm just trying to. You mean you're talking about?
Yeah, Jodie's companion.
Jodie's companion. Yeah. You're talking about. You're talking about. The. Okay, now I'm blanking.
Okay, I feel a little bit better. Thank you.
Yeah,
yes, I'm looking it up on IMDb as our listeners are yelling at us.
Oh my God.
That's part of the charm of us.
Yeah, it's part of the charm. So anyway, so so I got totally thrown by that. So we also had Joel Fry as Justin Valentine, who is the kind of host of the Haunted Makeovers, and he also played Kinvar and Rogers in the Sixth Doctor, Colin Baker, Big Finish Audio, Quicksilver.
Yes,
but you might know him more from playing the character Hizdar Zo-Loraq on HBO's Game of Thrones.
Oh, very nice.
One of those.
And by the way,
one of those guys in Marine, the one that was actually sort of nice to Daenerys, if you remember him.
And it's Yasmin's mom.
Yes.
Yasmin's mom. Okay.
But I'm just trying to figure. I don't remember. I didn't remember her being fired.
Yeah, her mom in the with
Oh,
the Donald Trump
Yeah,
type.
that's right.
In the hotel.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
In Arachnids in the UK. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm refreshing. Okay.
Okay.
So he also played the character Rocky in the recent film Yesterday, which was the the Beatles homage song. Where like the guy wakes up and everybody else has forgotten the Beatles except him. So so he played Rocky in that movie.
I have not seen that yet, but I'm looking forward to watching it when it's either available for renting or on cable. So yes.
So that's Joel Fry, and
Okay,
then
nice.
And then Peter Singh, the actor Peter Singh, he plays Jazz, the kind of head crew guy.
Yeah.
In this one, the one that really freaks out as things get a little touchy. He actually was in the Peter Capaldi TV episode Thin Ice.
Nice.
He played the Pie Man in that story. So you could see Peter Singh there if you're a Doctor Who fan from the Capaldi era. You can check out Thin Ice. But so I just kind of mentioned those. Otherwise, yeah, it's mostly this episode, and it's why I'm not really going to do a theme or themes this week or topic breakdowns, because most of this episode is essentially these 5 characters, the Doctor, Donna, Wilf, Sylvia, and Justin interacting over, like they kind of crisscross into each other. So there's no real way to kind of break them out by their character arcs in this one, because it is such a different type of story.
Yeah, I thought it was a good premise. The idea that it's haunted makeovers, that, this house supposedly has had supernatural things happening to it. And this guy because makeover shows are huge right now. And I will, on a side note, if you're in the hospital recovering from colon surgery or getting ready for colon surgery, it is the perfect thing to watch, because you don't have to kind of watch, you have to think very much. And so every time I go to the hospital, that's what's playing, which is just weird. And when I go to the doctor's office, my oncologist, that's the show playing. So they always have it on the HTV TV.
Right. Well, when I was having colon surgery back in the day,
two things that we have in common.
Exactly. Yes. Although mine was more emergency colon surgery. I was watching Third Rock from the Sun back in the day.
Oh, that's nice.
That's what I was doing in my hospital room, watching.
Very nice.
Because that had just started. So I kind of got into that show. If you remember that show with John Lithgow.
Yeah, sure.
And all right. So let's talk about this one. All right, so the setup is, like you said, it's this TV reality show called Haunted Makeovers. Justin Valentine is the host, essentially, of this. He's a bit of a skeptic, and he tries to go and essentially debunk the hauntings in these various homes. And in this case, though, there's this 15th century rectory that he declares, has a nightmare reputation, but will be transformed into a dream home. Of course, it's in Chiswick, London, and which makes us have the Donna, this is obviously because this is where Wilf and Sylvia and Donna's house is. So in this area, so they kind of set up. The premise is that the 10th Doctor is introducing himself here as Dr. John Smith, and he's married to Donna. And so they're posing themselves off as husband and wife. So what did you think of that, first and foremost?
Charles, having Donna and the Doctor pretend to be married was greatness, because, as you well know, and as your listeners know, people always would think they were a couple, and they were so quick to deny that. Oh, no, every time. And to have them pretend to be married and use such overly disgustingly cute pet names for each other. Oh, Snuggums. Oh, Honey Bunch. Is just hilarious. Did you think that worked?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was one of the more highlights of the episode or the story rather, was Tennant and Catherine Tate just kind of bantering back and forth, trying to like just even though they're not a couple, trying to act like a couple. So they kind of overact as the couple. Like they they do the hard sell with all the cutesy little pet names for each other. And it was an interesting experience, to say the least, to watch it. But it was a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, I just love that part of it. I thought it was great.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Skype. So for those wondering about the quality of the audio right now, Skype is acting up, and it's being a pain in my butt right now. So let's kind of to give a little hint about what's going on.
The Skype seems glitchy.
The Skype seems
well,
glitchy.
and if Charles seems,
I'm a little rattled right now.
Yeah, if both of us are rattled, it's because, man, we were rolling along. We had great, and all of a sudden,
just could throw us off our rhythm.
He's asking me a question.
Yeah,
so
all right.
that's okay.
All right, so
but we'll fix it in post.
We're going to give us our best shot. We'll splice this together and hopefully make it sound a little prettier. So anyway, all right, so let's get back to the episode. So,
okay.
All right, so we have, Justin talks about the house, this Morley Manse. It was apparently originally built in the 1400s, partially burned down several times. There's a bunch of incidents since the 1580s. And originally it was a lodging house for a monastery, then a workhouse in the Victorian era, then a school, then finally a community center. And there have been obviously a lot of reports that the place was unlucky, sightings of ghosts were rare, but a general feeling that the building was cursed. And then apparently that community center closed 20 years ago. And I think as we find out through the course of the story, that community center was where Sylvia took Donna as a young child for piano lessons. And so Donna has her own kind of bad memories about this place, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and I thought it was fun to hear Donna play the piano, and then her kind of her mom sounding very much, like this, come on, play, and then good posture, not just letting her be, but kind of being a stage mom, telling her how to perform. I thought that was a nice moment.
Yeah, it was. And apparently there was a caretaker at that time, and there was he stayed there all the time until there was a fire that broke out. And he ended up waking up in an asylum with no memory. And then a security firm has kind of watched over the building ever since, reporting markings on walls, snap padlocks, and mysterious sounds. And Justin, of course, being the skeptic, doesn't buy any of this. And so
no,
so Donna and the 10th Doctor, Donna, Wilf, and Sylvia, they're decided to kind of remake this building, this rectory, into a home, but obviously, unbeknownst to Justin, it's the Doctor has a plan for this, and this is there's more going on here as far as this. It's all kind of a front that all of them are putting on for Justin, and for reasons that we find out toward the end of the episode.
Yeah, we find out the Doctor had bought the building, correct?
Right.
And there's a lot going on.
Obviously, he bought himself a lottery ticket and got the money to buy the house that way.
Yeah. I really liked the premise. I don't know if it worked overall, but I really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And this premise, they go through this thing, basically it's kind of like slowly peels back what's going on. There's a moment where, like there's little things here and there. Sylvia's making tea for Justin, and then there's kind of like some, instead of milk dripping down the side, there's like some kind of goo. So it's essentially like ectoplasm. And the doctor, of course, licks it because the doctor is just, the 10th Doctor is just gross like that. And says it's a particulate residue of some kind. And they go to look at the staircase. Justin's talking about cleaning up the windows, and Wilf says, you don't want to see what was scribbled in under all the muck. And the sound recorders start picking up a voice whispering, and like they go in there. It basically starts trying to do little hints of ominous things coming out. Justin goes into a room. These crows fly out and shock everybody. And he has, Justin, as we find out, is a bit of a gadget guy. And he has little devices that he's of his own invention to kind of help try to, debunk the hauntings in these things. And he's got this one object, a toy cat, which he declares is motion sensitive. And the motion apparently makes the toy cat meow. So he kind of leaves it behind in one room, and of course the cat starts meowing, indicating, of course, that something was there. And Wilf, meanwhile, is outside in the grounds, in the garden, trying to tidy up the grounds, and he starts digging, and he digs up these bones. And here's where things start to get, the mystery starts to come together a little bit. These bones kind of start to look like a really big dog. And the ground gives way, opening up this large hole, which ultimately reveals this underground chamber. So at this point...
Yeah, that was weird.
At this point in the audio, what did you make of that?
So I was a little confused about this. Like I said, and I warned you and the listeners, I may be repeating myself. I just didn't get this story at all. I enjoyed the banter between the characters,
right,
but I didn't, the actual story didn't make sense to me whatsoever.
Right.
Like, okay, they dug up some bones. What's that got to do with anything?
Well,
even hearing you describe it,
yeah,
doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, let me kind of run it down a little bit more.
One of those.
Let me kind of run it down a little bit more, and maybe I can help piece this together for you. Okay, so they dig up these bones, and meanwhile, of course, the doctor's kind of waving his sonic around, and Justin's completely confused by that. He's thinking first he explains it as a thermometer because the rooms in the house were getting cold for the crew and whatnot. So they go into the chamber, and this, of course, is after Sylvia admonishes Donna for going into the chamber. Like, why would you go in there? It's not safe. And Donna, as a rebellious moment, basically says, screw you, Mom, I'm going in there. And I'm paraphrasing, of course. Yeah. And so they go in there, and they find that there's these manacles on the wall. And the doctor seems to think that something was chained inside there, desperate to get out. And he thinks the creature, the bones with the bones was the one that was in there and tried to, and it got out, but it died trying. That's what he's presuming at this point. And so they continue with the filming, looking to see if anything more happens. Justin, meanwhile, over the course of the filming, starts to get a little paranoid that, oh, hey, the doctor is trying to just manipulating this, and he's trying to have fun with me, and he kind of accuses everyone else of being in on it. And he starts making up explanations that this is just some shared delusion. orchestrated by the Doctor, and that apparently the crew is kind of picked up on. The crew wants to leave by this point. They're kind of freaked out. They're like ready to go. Justin threatens them like, "Hey, if you leave, you're not coming back. You're done with me." So they keep going. Donna leads them into this room. She starts talking about wallpaper. And then the chandelier starts to sway back and forth and ultimately crashes and causing some minor injuries to the crew. So they decide, okay, I guess we need to call the ambulance. And here's where, and then suddenly it leads to Justin being revealed that there's something more. It all kind of focuses around him in the story. Jonna takes him to this lecture, what used to be a lecture theater. There's like marks on the blackboard that suddenly show up, followed by the word home and the banging of chairs. And the Doctor asks Justin if the word means anything to him. So at this point, we kind of realize that the Doctor is kind of zeroed in on Justin and thinks that Justin is the key to whatever is going on by this point. So Justin takes. Go ahead. So are you kind of following that?
You.
Are you following that?
I'm following you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't understand, and I don't particularly care. I
Right.
mean, I don't know what happened to Justin. I don't know what caused the trauma. I know somehow magically the Doctor fixed it,
Right.
and at the end, Justin can now go on to have a happy life.
Yep.
It truly felt like double speak googly gawk. And
is that your technical term?
I don't. Yes, yeah, like timey-wimey, and so I just don't think the writing was very clear.
Okay.
Because if you're going to do an audio drama, I need to be able to follow it, and I listened to this part of it
Right.
multiple times and never figured out something bad happened to Justin when he was younger, and now the Doctor fixed it. Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on.
So the general gist of this is that Justin was, there was a second animal that, like the dog or whatever, and apparently there were two creatures that were kept down there, aliens, and they were second century. They were offered to help, but because of the time period that they landed in over 600 years ago, the rather ignorant Earth people killed them. And so essentially there was this sadness and this psychic energy of the trauma that permeated the house. And Justin, when he was a kid, spent a lot of time in the house. And as a result, that evil kind of got soaked into him. And so all of this was the Doctor realizing this, and that him going around to all these various houses and things happening. It wasn't just that though all those houses were haunted, it was that Justin, what was inside him was this this psychic energy lashing out in all these various locations. So therefore, Justin had to be quote unquote exorcised. And so all of this was to get him to face this, to build up that psychic energy, to release it so that Justin could be freed from that energy.
Okay.
And that's the plot of this. And so that once Justin faces this, there's this release, and he's apparently okay as a result.
Well, good. I'm glad.
Now, whether you cared about it or not, that's up to you, and that's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, now that you explain that,
yes,
it sounds like a pretty decent story.
Right.
But I did not get any of that from listening to it.
Right. So, well, I kind of.
That's on me.
Right.
I'm gonna blame that on me, that I didn't connect the dots.
Right.
Instead of blaming the writers, because obviously you got it, but I just didn't get that at all.
So what I'm doing is when I listen to these audios, I kind of, I'm taking notes. So I'm listening to every little thing. I pause it, I write notes down, and keep going. So maybe it's just that I'm paying more closer attention than you. So
Yes, I think you're working harder on it.
right,
And I think if you have to work that hard,
right,
I don't want to listen to it.
got it. So
And
what you're
it's
so what you're
similar to
yeah, go ahead.
no, it's similar to, and once again, because I can do everything. When Linda and I were going to see Bruce Springsteen, she was going to see him for the second time. She's like, I just don't understand what he's saying. And I said, don't try to understand the lyrics. Just think of his voice as another instrument and pretend this is an instrumental. And just listen to the emotion of his vocals and just think of it as that way. So that's how I looked at this episode. I'm like, the plot was the MacGuffin. The true joy of this was listening to Donna and Sylvia and her grandpa and the doctor interacts, made it a beautiful thing. So
Yeah, and I get where you're coming from because it is a story that you really have to kind of pay attention to, and obviously that's you want something for casual listening, and
and I also think
this one kind of rewards a more focused listener.
Yeah. And I also think, going back to our earlier comment, that when we listen to the second episode of this trilogy, my brain will be more in tone with an audio drama, and so I'll probably get it a little bit more.
Okay.
And then by the third one, I'll be on that too. I also think, even you say you thought this was a little bit of a weak of a story.
Yeah, I mean, it's not your typical Doctor Who story, and that's okay. But
absolutely.
But the story doesn't really zing. It's kind of just there, and it's and it's kind of very I want to say it's not horrible by any means. It's just kind of mediocre, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's fair.
And it's kind of like
because it was mediocre enough.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Keep talking.
Well, I was just going to say, and it's a little disappointing, especially when you've got the return of Wilf and Sylvia. You kind of want something more memorable, and so it's kind of a little bit of a letdown, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair. I think that's really well done and a good summary, because how you have such a great cast of the potential. So I think also that's okay because of all the personalities and all the character moments. I mean, this is a satisfying episode.
Yeah, and it is great to hear them. That we get a little bit. There's a lot that it's fun to enjoy with Donna and Sylvia in this one, because Donna kind of gets to call out her mom a little bit about, like, hey, you took me all these lessons. I really wasn't into them. And you kind of get a little bit of, you don't really get any resolution, of course, with the doctor, with Sylvia and Donna. But it was interesting to hear them kind of banter back and forth. You get to hear the doctor with Wilf a little bit, and so they have some memorable lines back and forth in the chamber and digging in the garden and whatnot. But generally, yeah, it's not the story that this, I don't think it needed to be. And I get
what was one. There was one good point, several good points, but to be fair to Sylvia, I liked her telling Justin her side of it. She was going to marry. Donna was going to marry someone.
Right.
She was going to have a good life. She was going to be happy till she met him. And from Sylvia's point of view, the doctor has ruined Donna's life because Sylvia can't think outside the box. Donna, on the other hand, loves this life. This has made her happy. I think one of the great tragedies of the modern Doctor Who is her having to have her mind wiped and not remembering all those adventures and having to be settled back on Earth. But Sylvia wants, what her goals for her daughter are to find a good companion, pun intended, to have a good life, to maybe have kids, to enjoy life, a quote unquote normal life. And that isn't what Donna wants. And so I know I often put Sylvia in a bad bucket, but having her described this way, I was a little more empathetic to her, that she's just trying to do what's best for her daughter. Right. She wants what's best for her daughter.
You know, and she's trying to be protective of Donna. There's a few scenes where essentially Sylvia warns Justin about the Doctor. She sees the Doctor as the real threat, kind of like how Martha's mom saw the Doctor as the threat to her daughter. And so Sylvia's trying to warn Justin about, like, hey, look, he's, people get hurt around the Doctor. And so it's coming out of a sense of protectiveness, but Donna, and this is where I think Sylvia has the part, doesn't really realize this, is that Donna is a grown woman. She's capable of making her own choices. Yes. And Sylvia should have more faith in Donna. And that's ultimately, I think, Sylvia's big failing. And that she doesn't have faith in her daughter to make the right decisions. And it's obviously...
I totally agree.
And it strains their relationship a bit. So...
I totally agree. Yeah. Like I said... not a bad story, just not as, and I think you said it
we've
best.
We've heard better. We've heard better. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
good.
All right. So I'm guessing you probably don't have any best lines of the episode. So
no, unfortunately, I really appreciate the fact that you do this much work where you take notes. There were a lot of fun banter back and forth,
right,
on this episode. Yeah.
All right, so I'll just run down a few here. The Doctor and Donna trying to be cutesy in front of the cameras, where they're kind of booping each other on the nose, back and forth. And Donna says, "Yeah, and I'm just gonna boop you back, you skinny little boy." Boop. And the Doctor replies, "Heh, heh, boop. Funny thing, Gazarian lizard queens do that before they eat their husbands alive."
Yes, I did think that was great.
So Justin, the Doctor, where Justin's asking the Doctor about his, if he believes in the supernatural, Justin goes, "Do you believe in ghosts, the supernatural, aliens, demons?" And the Doctor goes, "No." "Well, you met the mother-in-law."
Yes, thank you.
That was a good little takedown on Sylvia.
Charles.
Yes.
Charles has a very big smile after reading that one. So yes, well done.
Donna and the Doctor later on, where the Doctor licks the ectoplasm. Donna says, "Don't lick the ectoplasm, Doctor. Not in front of the cameras." And the Doctor replies, "What? What? Oh, sorry, bad habit." So I thought that was good.
It was
a really great comeback from Donna, where Sylvia is admonishing her for going down in the chamber. And Sylvia says, "You come out of there right now. It could collapse. Then where would you be?" And Donna says, "Buried." All deadpan.
Very nice.
That was good. The Doctor talking about the chamber being fascinating. He says, "That chamber really is fascinating. Mind you, underground chambers always are. You should see what's buried under the Vatican. I told John Paul to always have some guards." So I want to see that episode where the Doctor... I
love when the Doctor name drops.
Yep. And there was a very poignant line from Wilf that I want to mention really quick. This is my last one. Wilf's talking, and he says, "Do you know why we build fires? They were the first beautiful thing that we made. A fire is light. It's warmth. It's uncontrollable. And it stands between us and the darkness. Well, the doctor is like that. He's dancing between us and the stars, saying it's all going to be okay." So I like that a lot.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I thought that was a great Wilf
Absolutely.
line. All right. So I'm guessing this is going to be a rather low rating from Jesse. So what's your rating?
So not a horrible. I'm gonna give it 7.5 out of 10 new wallpapers.
Okay.
So it certainly was worth my time.
Right.
And I'm certainly glad that we got to talk about it, if nothing else, for the wonderful lines you just quoted, and there were others. So yeah. How about you, Charles?
I'm just a little bit more generous than you on this one. So I'm going to give it 8 out of 10 marshmallows cooked in a bag. Because if you listen to the audio, there was... Jesse, if you remember, so there's this great scene where where Wilf is cooking marshmallows over a campfire, the bonfire, and he puts the entire bag on the stick or whatever, and so the entire the marshmallows cook inside the bag, inside the plastic.
Yeah, and the doctor picks it up, right, and goes, tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, that was funny.
But I'm kind of a little skeptical because I'm going, all right, of all the campfires that Wilf made, he doesn't know how to cook marshmallows. Come on.
Yeah, I find that hard to believe.
The only thing I can think of is like, okay, is he having a senior moment maybe? But
yes.
Yeah, he says he never cooked marshmallows before over a campfire, which I find that really hard to believe.
I do too.
Yeah.
But so we're close.
Yeah, we're in the general park. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So reverse the polarity. Want to reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. Back this time to 1989. So if you listen to this audio, I recommend going back to 1989 for the story Ghost Light from the Sylvester McCoy era. This was the second serial of season 26 in 1989, written by Mark Platt, where the TARDIS arrives at Gabriel Chase, and this is where the big connection is, a mansion house in Perryville, near London in 1883. It turns out that Ace, his companion, the Seventh Doctor's companion, Ace, visited the creepy house in 1983 and felt an evil presence. So essentially a similar story, but I think it's a much more interesting tale than No Place. We find out the house is under this control of this mysterious guy named Josiah Samuel Smith, who's brainwashed the servants, and he's got a Neanderthal for a butler named Nimrod. And the original owners of the house have seemingly disappeared. Ace investigates the cellar, which turns out to be a spacecraft with something trapped inside. And the Doctor encounters an evolving creature from the cellar known as Control, which has taken on human form. The Doctor helps release the trapped cellar creature, a being known as Light, who has taken on the form of an angel. And Light is displeased by the change that has occurred on the planet while he was asleep all these centuries. As Control tries to evolve into a lady, Ace comes to grip with her feelings about the house, and the Doctor finally goes through this and convinces Light of the futility of opposing evolution, which was his big hang-up, causes him to overload and dissipate into the surrounding house. The Doctor and Ace realize that this was the presence that Ace sensed in 1983, and this is why she set fire to the house at the time. So at the end of this of No Place, they set fire to the house, and Ace had sent fire to this house, Gabriel Chase, in this story. So I thought it's really very surprisingly similar, I think. And in the end, there's like a new control creature and imprisoned on the ship, and Control and Nimrod set off in the alien ship to explore the universe. So,
Okay.
so that's it. So essentially, it's very similar to No Place, but I think it's a much more effective story and a much creepier story. And
It sounds that way.
And it's televised, so I highly recommend
Yeah.
it.
We just saw the up-to-date Ace appearing in an ad, right? Didn't
Yes.
she?
Yeah, they were doing
yeah.
it. There's apparently going to be a release of the season 26, the final season of the original series of Doctor Who from 1989. One of the stories that is in this set is Ghostlight. So, and they did this great little promo for the Blu-ray release, and they've got Sophie Aldred returning as an older Ace, and we see her at her company, A Charitable Earth, which was that company that was alluded to in the Sarah Jane Adventures. That I believe it was. I'm not sure if it was The Death of the Doctor or the other one, but that basically where we got
it was The Death of the Doctor.
Yeah, and the one with Matt Smith. And so we kind of got a recap of what was going on with other companions. Well, they kind of made that sort of canon, I guess, in this trailer, and that it's great to see Sophie Aldred back as an older Ace, and it was a great way to promote the set. They're doing really good job. They're doing a really great job with those Blu-ray promos.
Yeah, I know she's one of your favorite companions.
Yeah, she is.
And so yeah, we will probably. We may look at another Ace episode soon for us in our rewatch.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's
okay.
That's always recommended as far as I'm concerned. So,
yeah. Do we have any feedback, Charles?
Sadly, we do not have any feedback. So, I didn't really expect
for you to play the.
Yeah. We could do that too. So, let's see here. Oh, not that one. There we go. All right. Which pretty much sums up the way this whole episode has come off as we're recording this big epic fail.
No.
But
this has been genius.
But hopefully everybody else out there is entertained.
I'm hoping everyone is giggling and going yes.
Yeah. So every so often these things happen. Everybody, if you want to reach us, we'd love to hear from you. Hopefully, if you've listened to some of these audios, I definitely recommend checking them out. If you're not sure where to listen to these 10th Doctor audios, you can go to bigfinish.com, and you can download them from there. Or obviously, you can go to Who North America at whona.com and pick them up as well. That's where I ordered my spiffy, actual, tangible CD releases. That for those of us who like physical media, because you can't delete it or lose it, thanks to the whims of the media provider. So
yes,
if you want to reach us, Next Stop Everywhere smg@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, or you can reach us at Next Stop SMG on Twitter, or on Facebook at Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Or on Instagram at Next Stop Everywhere Podcast on Instagram. So we'd love to hear from you. Jesse, where can they find you on the interwebs?
Well, first off, you can hear me on this very fine podcast, Charles and I talking the Doctor, and please continue to support the podcast as Charles has guest host. It has truly been a joy hearing you talk to the Doctor, talking about the Doctor with other people. Charles and I are also doing Titan Talk. This is our episodes, our podcast about the DC Direct series based on the comic book The Titans, Teen Titans. The first season was good. The second season has been amazing. So if you, it is definitely worth the subscription to this DC on-demand service. not only do you get a lot of movies and comics, but the Titans and Doom Patrol and the other material available is wonderful. And Charles and I are having a blast talking about the Titans. So
much so we're going to talk about it right after this podcast.
Yes, we are. So that's called Titan Talk. Please check that out. Right now we're on break because we're talking Titans, but Charles and I also talk about comic book TV on the Fandom Zone podcast. I am thinking about doing a kind of quick episode with my thoughts on some of the new episodes that aren't necessarily comic book related, but we have a lot of new TV and some of it I really like, and I don't know what other podcast to show it on. So I may put it on Fandom Zone just to keep us going.
Well, that's mostly for comic book television. So if it doesn't relate to comic books, so I don't know, but
I may do a Rebel. I may do a special Rebel episode, and then of course my Set Listing Bruce podcast, where I talk to Bruce Springsteen fans from around the world. We just had a huge episode for Bruce's 70th birthday. We're coming up. I'm going to have a discussion with Jeff, who lives here in Dallas. We're going to get off the Springsteen train, and we're going to talk the Ken Burns PBS Country Music special. So, yeah, we talk a little bit of if it's musical related, we will talk to on that podcast. And I think that's all I have right now. Charles, how about you?
That sounds pretty busy. I'm exhausted just listening to that.
All right.
As for me, of course, at Charles Skaggs on Twitter, at Charles Skaggs on Instagram, Facebook, of course, at Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio, and my blog at Geeky Things.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot. Where I talk about all the stuff we talk about here on Next Stop Everywhere, all kinds of Doctor Who, Torchwood, Sarah Jane Adventures news as it comes out. All kinds of comic book sci-fi news of my other podcasts that I do for Southgate Media, including the aforementioned Titan Talk, the Titans podcast they do with Jesse, and the Fandom Zone podcast that I also do with Jesse, and Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast that I do with Zan Sprouse, who's been on this show, of course, where we talk about all things Twin Peaks, David Lynch, etc., as we continue our commentaries for the episodes of Twin Peaks: The Return, the third season of Twin Peaks that aired on Showtime in 2017. That's what we're doing right now. Having a ball with that. All kinds of fun. And hope you check it out if you're not already listening to us. We definitely appreciate that. Next time, though, on Next Stop Everywhere, hopefully we'll get back on track a little bit.
No. This is genius. This is a genius episode.
All right.
Okay.
So, but next time on Next Stop Everywhere, Holly Mack returns to Next Stop Everywhere as a special guest companion. And we are going to talk Turn Left, which is also a 10th Doctor and Donna story, only this time, of course, on television. And you've heard Holly when she was kind enough to join me to talk Battlefield from the Sylvester McCoy era. Now we're talking modern Who, and Turn Left is one that a lot of people kind of been wanting to talk about.
Oh, I think that is a great episode. I am looking forward to hearing that. Yeah. That is a wonderful episode. Kind of the Doctor doing It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. So Holly Mack, one from the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. I want to give them a shout out because they're so kind to us. It's going to be good. It's going to be a lot of fun, and this is a really interesting one to talk about, as Donna Noble, of course, kind of experiences an alternate timeline wherein she decides to turn right instead of left, and putting essentially the universe on a completely different path with that one decision. So should be a lot of fun to talk about, and hope everybody comes on back for that one. And that will be, of course, episode 156 of Next Stop Everywhere. So Jesse, any final thoughts before we sign off?
Yeah, just I despite our Skype
glitches
issues, as always, it's fun talking the Doctor with you, and I am looking forward to hearing you guys talk Turn Left. That is a really fun episode. So I think that's going to be great.
Yep, I think so too. So everybody come on back next time, episode 156 of Next Stop Everywhere. We're going to talk Turn Left with Holly Mack making her big return. And I apologize once again for all the technical difficulties this episode, but hopefully we'll have top men working on it. And hopefully we'll have something a little better next time. So everybody come on back, and we'll see you next time right here on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, and we love you.
Bye, everybody.